Wow. God is a good God, isn't He? Man, it feels so great in this place. It feels awesome in here. It feels really good. You know, I remember when I first got saved, right after I gave my life to Jesus, I remember turning on TBN and watching Bishop Michael Pitts. I saw him on there and I thought, man, who is this dude? Because he looked hip. Yeah, super cool, and the guy, just the way he was bringing it, you know, the revelation and the way he has the ability to be so articulate in how he communicates, and just drew me right in. And I could identify with him. I thought this is a powerful guy right here, and I would have never imagined that in my early days of being saved, watching him on TV, that I'd get the opportunity to stand right here and preach for him, and. And it's great to see my friends, Josiah Silva and his awesome wife. We're both in Orange County. We're working hard to make it hard to go to hell from Orange County. We're working really hard. He's at one end, I'm the other end, and I believe with both of us there, if somebody really wants to go to hell, they just have to move to Arizona or something to get there. And so I hope nobody from Arizona in here tonight. And if you live in Arizona, just move on down there in Orange County. It's great to see those guys here. But Bishop and his awesome wife, thank you so much. I mean, you guys are amazing. The gentleman that picked me up and brought me over here tonight, he was talking about how he loved being a part of this church. And I shared this with him. I told this to him. I said, you know, God has assigned every person a voice. God has assigned us to a voice. And when you're not connected to the right voice, you never really open up what you're capable of opening up. And you never become who you're capable of coming if you don't have that right voice. Because, you know, Jesus said, my sheep know my voice. So that means every sheep have been assigned to a voice. And I tell you, I realize that I know this about people. People have a tendency when you're in something for a long time to not really realize the full impact of what you're in, because you can begin to kind of take it for granted because it becomes common to you. And I want you to know what's right here, what I feel in the atmosphere of this house, and what I know about your awesome pastor, Bishop, is that this isn't a commonplace. And sometimes... Don't be one of those people. Now listen to me. Don't be one of those people that lose what you got to figure out what you had. And because sometimes people have to lose what they got to realize what they had. And you got something great going on here. And so I just think you need to give your bishop and his awesome wife a great big hand. Show them some love. You guys can be seated for a moment, and I'm not going to preach a real long time. Now, listen, I'm an audience participation kind of preacher, and so if you don't interact with me, if you don't talk back to me when I'm preaching, then I'll think you're not getting what I'm preaching about, and I'll just preach on that point that much longer. So, if you want to get this thing over with real quick, just say, "We got you, white boy." Go on to the next point, and. When I first started preaching, I would average like preaching 2 hours every time I'd preach. And my wife, Christy, she said, look, if you'd quit saying everything twice, you'd cut it down to an hour. I said, but baby, I'm so anointed. She said, after 2 hours, you're the only one that's anointed. And so I typically don't travel with my wife because she's so fine and hot, and men have a lust problem. So I just thought I'd just leave her at home. And but I can't wait to get back to her. So, are you ready to get into the Word tonight? I want you to go to Mark chapter 2, Mark chapter 10. Just open up your Bible. We'll go anywhere. We'll just tell me. Mark chapter 10, that's where we're going to start tonight. And I really believe this. I believe that I have a word from God. I really believe I got something for you tonight. I believe I have something And if you'll open up your hearts and you'll lean into this thing, I believe you'll catch what God wants you to get tonight. I want to talk to you from this thought from here to there. Somebody said, we're going over there. In Mark chapter 10, starting in verse 46 to 52, it says this. It says, now they came to Jericho. As he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great multitude, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the road begging. And when he heard it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Then many warned him to be quiet. And he cried out all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. So Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. Then they called the blind man, saying to him, be of good cheer, rise, he is calling you. And throwing aside his garment, he rose and came to Jesus. So Jesus answered and said to him, what do you want me to do for you? Then the blind man said to him, Rabboni, that I might receive my sight. Then Jesus said to him, go your way, your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight, followed Jesus on the road. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray that tonight, God, that you would help every one of us in this room to open up our hearts, help us to receive the engrafted word with meekness. Help us to engage our minds so that our minds could be renewed, so our thinking could be elevated to a higher level, so that we could think the way that you want us to think, so we can live the way that you want us to live. I ask God for you to anoint me, anoint my tongue, my lips, my mouth, make me an oracle. Allow me the privilege to stand in your heart in Christ and communicate your thoughts and your will tonight. In Jesus' mighty name. If you agree with that, shout amen. Amen. So from here to there, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. From here to there. Then when you begin to read this story, it takes place between two locations. It takes place between Jericho and Jerusalem. Jericho is considered a cursed place. It's considered a bad place. If you were born in Jericho, if you lived in Jericho, it was kind of the place that when you grew up, you wanted to try to get out of there. You wanted to move out of Jericho. Jerusalem was considered a blessed place, a place of peace. It was where you would aspire to be, where you would want to be. You would try to go to there. You would try to leave the bad place so that you could go to the great place. You'd want to leave this bad place so that you could go to the better place. And as I was reading this story, I thought about this because oftentimes, when we start living life, when we get into our 20s, we begin to dream. We begin to dream of what life could be like. Some of us dream of writing poetry, and we want to become a poet. Sometimes people dream of becoming an actor, and they want to do that. They want to get involved in the entertainment industry. And some people dream about being a doctor. I want to be a doctor, and they dream about becoming and being different things. They dream about different things. As throughout their 20s, they begin to dream. Then they turn 31, and when they turn 31, something happens when you turn 31, because when you turn 31, all of a sudden you realize you haven't accomplished that much, and everybody that just laughed is over 31, and because life has a way oftentimes of hitting you. Life has a way of trying to knock the wind out of you. Life has a way of trying to punch you and somehow knock the dream out of you. Oftentimes we start out even giving our life to Christ, even giving our life to the Lord. We get saved. I remember when I got saved. When I got saved, I would lay in my living room floor, and tomorrow you just got to come. You got to be here because I'm going to share my story, and you're going to get something out of it. But I remember when I would lay in my floor, I'd get saved, and I'd turn on the TV. I'd watch TV, and I'd see Bishop Michael Pitts with his hair combed back and that hip mullet he used to have, and those in the suits he would wear, and he'd preach like no other now. And I'd lay in my living room floor and I'd cry. I literally would cry, y'all. I'd cry, and I would beg God. I'd beg God to use me. I dreamed about being used by God. You ever had a dream to do something, man, a dream for your life. A lot of time we start out, a young lady starts out, she gets in her 20s and she dreams about having a husband and having a family and having a house and living a life. And men dream the same kind of things, and men have other kind of dreams as well. Ladies also have other dreams they aspire to be, but then something happens sometimes because it doesn't just develop as easy as we wanted it to or thought it would, because oftentimes we think because we dream it, it's going to be easy to live out the dream. If we can dream it, we can just be it. And the reality is it's not as easy to be it. Even when you dream it, your dreams just don't happen real easy. We can dream things, but they just don't always happen real easy because it doesn't always work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Anybody up in here ever been disappointed because it didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out? Maybe your marriage didn't work out the way you thought it was. Maybe your ministry didn't work out the way you thought it was. Maybe life didn't work out the way you thought it was going to work out. Maybe you found yourself struggling with something that you thought you'd already overcome, but somehow, some kind of way, you find yourself struggling with something that you didn't even realize it was still there, but somehow it ended up still being there. And so life has a way of hitting you, and when it hits you, you can end up getting discouraged if you're not careful, and you can end up allowing your circumstances to define your conditions. Blind Bartimaeus, he left a bad place, wanting to go to a great place. Anybody, you familiar with the story, Blind Bartimaeus? How many of you read this story before? You read anybody in here ever talked to anybody about the story? You ever told anybody about the story? But you made reference to Blind Bartimaeus. You talked about blind Bartimaeus. I opened up tonight saying I want to talk about blind Bartimaeus, and we call him Blind Bartimaeus, don't we? We call this guy Blind Bartimaeus. We said Blind Bartimaeus, here's what happened in his life, but blind really isn't his name. Blind was his condition. Now I thought about this because, the reality is we can't necessarily change what other people say about us. I mean, people can call us whatever they want to call us. They can say whatever they want to say, and we can't necessarily stop them from calling us whatever they want to call us or say whatever they want to say about us. But you don't have to respond to everybody who calls you by something. Just because they say you something doesn't mean you have to respond and be who they say that you are. And just because you did something doesn't mean you are what you did. And just because you did something doesn't mean you have to wear the label of that's what you did for the rest of your life. And just because people want to say, you know her, you know him, you know what they did, and just because they want to try to make reference to you in that light doesn't mean you have to respond to what they say about you. Because oftentimes people will try to refer to you based on your condition. And they try to refer to you based on your history, not based on your future. They'll try to remind you where you came from, not talk to you about where you can go. And maybe the reason some people get stuck is because they keep letting other people tell them who they are. Maybe everybody that came walking by him said, "What's up, blind Bartimaeus? We know who you are. We know where you came from. And because of where you came from and where you are, it's why you are where you are. Blind Bartimaeus." So you don't have to let what other people say about you be who you think you are. Now, blind was his condition. Can I keep it real up in here with you tonight? Everybody's got some kind of condition. I don't care how long you've been up in this thing, how long you've been serving God. Everybody's got some type of condition that'll try to pop up every now and then and try to get you stuck so you don't make it to your destination. And oftentimes we struggle with conditions, sometimes because of the choices that we make or even the environment we came from. Because he grew up probably in Jericho. He spent some time in Jericho, and so he was possibly influenced by the culture that was in Jericho. Because, if you grow up in an environment that's a cursed environment, a bad environment, the influence of that environment isn't necessarily going to produce the healthiest type of person if you kind of come up in that environment. And so I'm sure that he was struggling with some stuff that he had learned in his environment. And as a result of learning some stuff in his environment, it probably put a little lean in him and caused him to make certain type of decisions at times. And so he was struggling maybe with some of the things, and sometimes we struggle with things, and the reason we're struggling with some of the things that we're struggling with is because of some of the choices that we're making. Because it would be nice to think that there's no consequences to all the choices that we make, but all of our choices create some type of consequences. You are who you are today by the choices that you made. Oftentimes we try to blame other people for who we are, but there comes a point in your life where you have to take responsibility for who you are. You can't blame everybody for who you are. I mean, you can't be 40 years old, 50 years old blaming somebody else. There comes a point where you got to take responsibility for you. And realize that God has given you the ability to choose, and you can make the right choices or not make the right choices. And I realize it's not always easy to make the right choices, because sometimes thoughts grab a hold of us so strong and emotions get so strong that we act out on those thoughts and on those emotions, and we make a decision. And making a decision, we end up creating some consequences. But the good news is that we can get free from those things. Now, so blind was his condition, but his real name is Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus comes from two words, bar meaning son, Timaeus means polluted one. So his name, you could say this, his name is son of the polluted one. See, it's one thing to struggle with some stuff that you brought on yourself because of the choices that you made, but some of you may be wondering, why are you struggling with some of the things that you're struggling with? Because you may be struggling with some of the things that you're struggling with because you're fighting your daddy's devils and don't realize you're fighting your daddy's devils. He's living with the stigma. He's living with the reputation that he is the son of a polluted one. People called him by that name, son of the polluted one, Bartimaeus. Sometimes there can be this thing that we just pick up in the blood. It's almost like it's in your bones. You're acting just like your daddy. And listen, all you that just got married, do not tell your wife she is acting like her mama. Do not say that. But sometimes you can find yourself struggling with some stuff. I told you we were going to keep it real up in here. You can find yourself struggling with some stuff even after you've given your life to Jesus Christ. You can find yourself struggling with some stuff and you're wondering, why am I struggling with this stuff? And it could be you're struggling with some stuff that was picked up through the blood. It was picked up in the DNA. It was transferred because of the family that you live in. It was transferred from one generation to the next. Now that doesn't mean that it has legal right to operate there. But the devil don't play fair. And the devil don't operate according to what's legal and what's not legal. He's not just going to look at you and say, oh, you saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I'm just going to go on to the next person. Because he's a trespasser. If he can get away with trespassing, he's going to trespass all up in your life. And sometimes you've got to come to the revelation of what Jesus Christ has done for you, and you have to lean into that thing, and you have to take the authority that you've been given, and you have to break the powers of that thing and tell that thing, just because you operated in my granddaddy and just because you operated in my mama don't mean that you're going to get to operate in me. I've discovered what Jesus Christ has done for me, and I'm going to take authority over you, and I'm going to break you right now, and I'm going to cast you out. Somebody shout, I'm going to cast you out. Now, so Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, he sat by the road. Now, a road is designed to take you from one place to another, from here to there. If you're going from here to there and you're on a system that's designed to take you there, you have no business sitting on something that's designed to take you from here to there. Spiritually, sometimes people are in a system inside God's kingdom that is designed to take you from here to there, but because you have sat down, the system is not taking you to the destination. There's a system flowing in this place tonight. There is a system that flows every time your bishop gets up and begins to preach. The system is designed to connect with you where you are and take you further down the road on your journey towards your destination. But you can sit down beside the system and the system be moving and you be sitting. And he sat. Now, when you came in here tonight, there was a certain point in this evening where you sat down. The simple fact of sitting down made a statement. And the statement that you made was, I'm going to spend some time right here. Because if you're not going to spend any time right here, you're not sitting down because you're going somewhere and you don't have time to sit down because you're going somewhere. Now, the Greek word for sat is an interesting word because it's translated one other time in another place in the Gospels where it's describing somebody who's in the same physical position, but it takes it a little deeper. And it talks about somebody's spiritual condition. In the other place where it's mentioned, it's describing someone who has sat in spiritual darkness. It implies the loss of sight, of vision, or somebody who quit believing that they could go beyond where they are. I've lost my sight. I've lost my way. I can't see. I left this place going to that place, but I can't see how to get to that place. He sat there in darkness. Something stole his vision. Something stole his dream. Something stole your belief. And you began to believe that all you could have was where you were at. And this was as good as it's going to get. Because after all, at least you're not where you used to be. And oftentimes we settle for where we are because we're not where we used to be. At least I'm saved. I'm not there anymore. And we never really live our life to the full potential in which we're capable because we allow conditions and circumstances and things that we struggle with to somehow knock the dream out of us. If you got real up in here tonight, there's some people in this place, their dream has died. There's something in somebody's life up in here tonight, their dream has died and you quit believing for what you used to believe for because you've come to a place as a result of your experiences in life to accept what you got is all you're going to have. And you're basing what you believe, as I just described, on your experiences rather than on what God says. Because if God said you can go from here to there, I want you to know there's nothing that can stop you from getting to there. There are people, there are situations, there are conditions, there are things that can hinder the journey, but let me tell you this, there's nothing that can stop you other than you. The only limitations there are in life are the limitations that you create within yourself. Because if God said, I've ordained you to be somewhere, I want you to know there is nothing in this world that can ultimately stop you from getting there. Come hell or high water. If you'll stay committed to the journey, if you'll stay on the road, if you'll stay up on your feet, keep walking this thing out, you will get to the destination. Am I talking to anybody up in here? And so he was sitting there begging. He was begging. Now, he was begging for a handout. But if you would begin to beg God for an invasion in your life, I used to say visitation. God, I want a visitation. Lord, I'm asking you to come visit us tonight. And one time I was praying that prayer. I said, God, I'm asking that you would come and visit us. Have you ever prayed that God would come and visit you? Lord, just come visit us. Just come touch us. And then when I was praying that, it was just like God's kind of showed up and he says, do you realize what you're asking me? He said, what do people do when they come over to your house to visit? He said, they're only there for a while and they leave. He says, you really don't want a visitation, you want an invasion. Because the difference between a visitation and an invasion, and a visitation means I'm coming and I'm leaving. But when an invasion happens, an invasion says, I'm coming and I'm taking over and I'm here to stay. So maybe it's the fact that you're not where you used to be, you've settled for where you are, and you need a fresh invasion from the presence of God to resurrect the dream that you quit dreaming because of life's frustrations. And maybe you just need to get into a desperate place again where you begin to beg God to come and touch you. God, come and touch my marriage. Come and invade my marriage. Come and invade my career. Come and invade my life. Come and invade my situation. Come and invade my condition. God, I need an invasion. I don't need just a handout. I need a takeover. And so he was begging. He was begging. And so he's sitting there, and he's begging. Now, he's just begging just to get enough, just to exist. And then Jesus is leaving Jericho with a whole nother group of people he's bringing out, taking over to Jerusalem. And Jesus comes walking by with this group of people, and blind Bartimaeus begins to hear the commotion around Jesus. And it always troubles me when people say they walk in with Jesus and you don't ever hear nothing. Because every time I see anybody walking with Jesus, there's something happening. And people are talking about him, people are screaming him, people are shouting him, people are celebrating what's happening. And so here comes Jesus, and blind Bartimaeus hears the commotion, and he asks them what's going on. He hears what people are saying, and I just got to stop and talk to you for a minute about what you're hearing, because what you're hearing may be influencing what you're believing, and if you're hearing the wrong things, maybe that's why you get stuck and your dream dies, because you're listening to the wrong people. You're letting somebody talk you out of your dream. You're letting somebody talk you out of what you believe. And they come along and they tell you, you can't be that. You can't accomplish that. Don't you know where you came from? And they begin to consult your history as it pertains to your future. And they talk you out of your dream. Nobody would have ever thought that I would be who I am today, doing what I'm doing today. I was the last person that anybody would have ever thought would be doing what I'm doing today. You would have never looked at me when I was burning my lips, smoking rocks. Say, that guy's going to be a preacher one day. And so he heard it. He heard it. Somebody shout, he heard it. He heard it. You know, some of you are just listening to me tonight. Some of you are really hearing me tonight. The people that are just listening to me tonight, it's just kind of going in one ear and out the other ear. I want you to take your right hand for a minute. Just take your right hand, hold it up, put it over your right ear. That way for everything else I say tonight, when it goes in, it'll stay in. So, see, some people are just listening to me. They're just listening to me. But then there's other people that are hearing what I'm saying. The ones that are just listening to me, not going to get a whole lot out of what I'm saying, but the ones that are really hearing what I'm saying, they're getting something out of what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is going to resurrect their dream, and it's going to get them further down the road. The system's going to take them down the road. They're going to move further toward the destination. They're not going to stay in the same condition or in the same place. They're going to walk out of here different than what they came in, because they're not just listening to me. They're hearing what I'm saying. The Bible said faith comes by hearing. Some people are running around, I don't have enough faith. I don't have enough faith. I can't believe. I need more faith. I just need some help. And they're running from here and they run to there, and they're chasing after something that'll give them faith. But you got to quit chasing after something that'll give you faith, because the Bible doesn't say you chase after faith. The Bible said faith comes. You don't get faith by what you chase. You get faith by what you listen to. And some of you listening to the wrong thing, and because you listen to the wrong thing, you're having a hard time believing. You know, when you read Matthew's version of this, Matthew's version kind of trips me out, because Matthew's version says there's two blind men. Now, when you study this out geographically, the destination between Jericho and Jerusalem, they're really not that far apart. The distance from one to the next, it's not that far apart. It is a very curvy, windy, hilly road, and it was a road that was known that when you traveled on it, you could encounter people that would try to rob you. So distance-wise, it wasn't that hard to go from one to the next, but it could be a little dangerous. Serving God can be a little dangerous. But the thing that kind of stuck out to me about Matthew's version of this, Matthew's version says there were two blind men. Now, I don't know how you think, but when I read that, I thought, how in the world did two blind men find each other on the side of a hilly, curvy road? But after doing this thing for a little while, I've discovered that people have this ability to be able to find each other. You know, people with similar conditions, people have a tendency to be able to find each other. You know, if this is my church, I'd say it a different way. I'd say like the whores have the ability to find the whores, and the liars have the ability to find the liars, and the thieves have the ability to find the thieves. But this isn't my church, so I'm not going to say it that way. I'm just going to say it that like spirits attract like spirits. You know what I'm saying? Somehow, they can walk in the church service, not know each other, sit on the opposite sides of the church, but they're leaving to go hang out and they're best friends before the night's over with. And then they're like, I struggle with this and you struggle with that. And the danger in that is this right here, is that you end up with somebody that enables you and helps you to justify your condition, and they just is stuck as you stuck. And ain't nobody can help you get from here to there that ain't moving to there. You don't need to be jumping in no parked car thinking you're going to arrive at the destination. And I know we're called to be people that love everybody, and we love everybody, but loving everybody doesn't mean that I have to make everybody like my ride or die partner. When I'm trying to get my life together, the last thing I need is somebody trying to pull me down. Because I've discovered that people that really don't want to get better, they try to convince you that it's okay for you to be the way that you are so that you won't want to get better, because Because I've realized this. I've realized that oftentimes you getting better means that whatever they're profiting from you being the way that you are, they won't be profiting from it any longer because you're going to get up and leave them. And if you get up and leave them, whatever they get from you, wherever you are with them, they're not going to get it anymore because you're not there no more. And so it was bad enough that he's stuck. Now he's stuck with two people. Two people are stuck there. But when he heard that it was Jesus walking by, see, he began to hear something maybe different than he had been hearing, because it generated, there was a response that came out of him. See, when you hear the right things, it will create a response on the inside of you. I said this just like I said about your bishop earlier, that every sheep has been assigned to a voice. Jesus said, my sheep know my voice, and the strangers they do not follow. So when the sheep have been assigned to a voice, when they hear the voice, they respond to the voice. Let me just put it like this. Back in shepherding days, like when David was a shepherd, or when Jesus was walking the ground, the shepherds would come together. They would often come together. They'd bring their sheep together. But when they got ready to depart and go their way, all the shepherd had to do was make a call with his voice, and all of his sheep would break away from the other sheep and start walking with a voice they've been assigned to. So when you hear the right thing, if you're listening to the right thing, well, not listening, because we talked about listening and hearing can be two different things. When you're hearing the right thing, because faith comes. Because he didn't get up from anywhere, but he began to hear something that generated a response on the inside. And his response was this: he started crying out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Now, Son of David is a messianic term, so that implies that he recognized, even though he could not see it with his natural eyes, he recognized the one that was coming by. The things that he was hearing from those that were coming by, he realized that this just isn't anybody walking by. This is opportunity walking by. Because when opportunity comes, it comes. It just doesn't come and stay there and say, now whenever you're ready, I'm here for you. I'm an opportunity, and I'm just going to walk around with you, and I'm just going to stand beside you, and I'm just going to hang out with you. And whenever you decide is a good time, I'm just here for you. Here's your opportunity. Just, I'm here, just whenever you're ready. But I've discovered that opportunities only come for a moment. And if you don't step into the moment when the moment presents itself, that opportunity will keep moving by you. I mean, my wife tells me all the time it was an opportunity. She'll go shopping and come back and say, I just had to buy it. It was on sale. If I didn't get it, it was gone. It was gone. It was gone. She convinces me it was an opportunity. And then she tells me what the great opportunity, how much money the opportunity saved me. I said, baby, I really don't care how much you saved me. I want to know how much you spent in this opportunity you got. And so Jesus is walking by, and he's listening to this, and he starts crying out, Son of David, have mercy on me. And then I thought about what he said, have mercy on me. When I first got saved, I thought grace and mercy were kind of like kissing cousins. I really kind of thought they were the same thing. It was just kind of saying it a different way. But then I realized that grace and mercy really aren't the same thing. Grace is God giving you what you don't deserve. Now, every now and then I meet somebody who believes that they deserve to be saved. Like somehow I deserve this thing. But maybe they didn't come from where I came from, because when you come from where I came from, you realize you don't deserve anything that you get from God. God didn't give it to me because I deserved it. God gave it to me because He's God and He wanted to give it to me. And so grace is God giving you what you don't deserve. And mercy on the other hand, mercy is God not giving you what you deserve. Because I realize that sometimes if we don't get real in it, acknowledge that we've created some of our mess, it's created our condition that's got us stuck, that we're really not going to get unstuck. If we don't say, God, I have blown it, I have messed up, I need some mercy. If we're not quick to raise our hand and say, God, it's me that needs some mercy. So he began to cry out, have mercy on me. And then another thing stuck out to me about this story is that the group of people that were walking with Jesus, they came over to Bartimaeus and they tried to quieten him down. They said, shh, just keep quiet. Jesus isn't Pentecostal. He's Lutheran, Presbyterian. Shh. Now, here's what I thought. Here you have a man who is stuck in his condition. You have Jesus walking by, and you have people that are with him that obviously he picked them up somewhere along his journey, and he's taking them down the road toward a destination. They've encountered him, but now they're encountering somebody that needs to encounter him. And rather than initially facilitating, let me go get you and bring you over here to him, they go over here and say, shh, don't bother him. And as I was reading this story, because blind Bartimaeus, see, before I say that, let me say this. Because too many people give up too easy. We got a bunch of people today that just give up too easy. Like first little resistance they encounter, they just quit. They just quit. I'm going to give up. I'm going to quit. I'm not going to try this thing any longer. Why aren't you going to try any longer? Because they came over and said, shh. And blind Bartimaeus did not allow the haters. See, really, your haters may be doing you more of a favor than you realize they're doing. Your haters actually may be being used by God to generate the response out of you that needs to come out of you for you to get what you really need to get. Because maybe he would have just stopped with raising his hand. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Oh, he didn't stop. They came over and said, shh, be quiet. And he started screaming all the louder. Somebody shout, Jesus, Son of David. Jesus, Son of David. Somebody shout, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. Shh. Somebody shout, Jesus. And Jesus stops. Jesus hears this and Jesus stops. Had he not experienced the people that were trying to silence him, he might not have raised his voice to the level that he needed to raise his voice for Jesus to stop for him. Because when you get Jesus to stop for you, you better get ready for everything to change. When Jesus stops in your world, in your life, everything about everything is getting ready to change. Somebody shout, it's about to change up in here. And so Jesus stops, and Jesus tells the people that tried to silence him, said, bring him to me. He told the people that tried to silence him, bring him to me. It was the haters that facilitated you coming to him. Oh, you can't handle this kind of stuff. And so then Jesus standing there, and they bring blind Bartimaeus to Jesus. And you know, Jesus knows everything. And blind Bartimaeus is standing there, and Jesus says, what would you like for me to do for you? Now I thought that was like, that was stupid. I don't want to say anything about Jesus implying stupidity, but, you know, I mean, hello. Jesus says, what would you like for me to do for you? Now, when he stood up to come to Jesus, he said he cast off his garment. His garment wasn't just any type of garment. His garment was called a beggar's garment. His garment identified him with his condition. He didn't know what was going to happen. But obviously he had faith for something to happen. Because nothing had changed in his life, but yet he threw off everything that identified him with his condition. Even before he got delivered from his condition. And too many people are doing this. Too many people are doing this. Too many people are like, I sure wish Jesus would deliver me from my condition. I wish Jesus would deliver me. If you deliver me from my condition, I'd get rid of that thing. Deliver me from my condition, I'd throw that stuff away. Deliver me from my condition, I'd quit going over there. And the devil comes and tells you that if you try to start walking in his direction before you've been delivered from your condition, that you're nothing more than a hypocrite. Look at you. You walking over there toward Jesus like you ain't got no problem. And the devil comes along and tells you tries to tell you you're a hypocrite. And so here blind Bartimaeus is, he's throwing the thing off that identified him with his condition. And I don't know how he got from where he was to where Jesus was standing, but I know one thing. You may not fully be able to see everything between you and where you need to be, but if you just got a word that's calling you to come, that's all you need. That's all you need. I don't know if he's walking like this, but he had a voice that called him to come. And he got up from where he was and he walked over to Jesus, and Jesus says to him, what do you want me to do for you? And as I was thinking about this, and I realized why Jesus probably asked him what he wanted, because Jesus knew what he wanted. He just wanted to see if he knew what he needed. Or Jesus knew what he needed. He just wanted to see if he knew what he needed. Because he could have said, you know, they got a sale down here at McDonald's. I can get a Happy Meal for $2.59. He could have, because that's what when he was underneath that garment, oftentimes they would fully cover themselves in that garment. They would fully cover themselves, and sometimes all you could see was a hand sticking out, just begging for a handout, just begging for a handout. Just give me just enough. Just give me just enough. And that's exactly what we do sometimes in the church. We hide under our conditions. And we're not really trying to change our conditions, but we're just trying to beg for just enough so I keep existing in my condition. I'm really not trying to change my condition. I'm just trying to get somebody to give me a handout so I can keep operating in my condition. I just want somebody to enable me so I can get by another day like this. Just hook a brother up and just give me just a little bit of something. And so Jesus said, what do you want me to do? What would you like for me to do for you? And his response was the right response. I wonder if Jesus were to show up here tonight and ask you the same question. What would you like for me to do for you? What would you like for me to do? Is there something you would like for me to do for you? What would you say to him? No, Jesus, I just give me enough just get by the day. What would you say? And his response was this. His response was, give me my vision back. Let me believe again. Let me dream again. Give me back my sight. Give me the ability to see beyond where I am. Because if I can see beyond where I am, I can get from where I am to where I need to be. Because if you'll restore my sight, if you'll give me the ability to see beyond my condition, I can perceive the system and I can step into the system and I can move toward the destination. But if I don't have enough vision to get beyond my condition, all I can do at the best is reach my hand out and say, somebody help me out just so I can exist in my condition. But if you'll give me my sight, I can step back into the system and I can start moving toward the destination. Somebody shout, give me my sight. Now, the word sight right there means more than just visually opening up my eyes. It's a wholeness word. It implies to heal me everywhere that I've been broken. Jesus, I don't want you just to open up my eyes so that I can see around the terrain. I want you to open up my life so I can see beyond my condition. I want you to repair my life. I want you to put me back together again. I've been broke. Life has hit me. Things have come against me. And things have messed me up. I got discouraged because of the challenges that I faced. And I ended up getting stuck in my condition. But if you will heal me from everything that's hurt me, and you'll give me my dream back, you'll give me my vision back, that's all I need to get back to where I need to be. And then Jesus says this. Jesus says, go. I mean, that's all. I mean, because sometimes we want these deep, complicated kind of things, instructions. We want God to tell us, like, you know, I want you on Tuesday. I want you to get up and I want you to go down there to the church and the preacher's going to have a word for you. And God can do that. God can do that. But, you know, sometimes he only has to do that because we're so stupid that we don't use our mind, our good mind, that we need to have enough sense about ourselves to know I need to get up on Tuesday and I need to go down to the church because the preacher's going to have a word for me. I don't need God to tell me that. And so God said, go. When God said, go your way. Now listen, when God puts the go into your future, there's nothing in your future that you can encounter that can stop you. Let me put it like this. There is nothing in front of you. Well, let me say it like this. Do you believe that God is all powerful? I mean, do you really believe he's all powerful? Do I get any saved people up in here? So if you're saved and you believe God is all powerful, then that means you believe that all powerful one lives on the inside of you. So if God is all powerful, that means there's nothing more powerful than the all powerful God that now lives on the inside of my saved self. So anything that I can encounter going my way isn't greater than the all-powerful one that lives on the inside of me. Some of you got to stop. Quit sitting down. You got to stop sitting down. You've got to stay up on your feet when you encounter something, and you've got to stick your chest out and say, the all-powerful one lives on the inside of me. And if he lives on the inside of me, whatever I face isn't greater than he who's in me. That's all I need. All I need is God to put the go into my future. See, some people, now I know that you're intelligent. I know that. You're intelligent. And you would never logically say that the problems that you're facing in life are greater than God. But our responses sometimes would say something different. Our responses sometimes to our situations would imply that we believe whatever we're facing is greater than the all-powerful one. Because if you really believe that God was all-powerful, you would quit sitting down when you need to be standing up. And it says, and immediately he received his sight. So he received his sight as he was walking. See, he began to experience his miracle when he was beginning to walk this thing out. Oftentimes we feel like that we got to get to a certain place before we begin to try to walk this thing out. But it was in walking this thing out that he received his miracle. And some of you are allowing your conditions to stop you from trying to walk this thing out. Am I talking to anybody up in here tonight? Is there anybody up in this place you've allowed something to steal your dream? You've allowed something to take your vision. You allowed something to cause you to quit believing. Am I talking to anybody up in here? You've accepted whatever you're going through as being all it's ever going to be. And you've just stopped in that area. You stopped believing and you stopped dreaming and you stopped hoping because you got disappointed once and you got disappointed again and you got disappointed a third time and got disappointed for I'm just tired of trying because I keep on getting disappointed. Anybody in here stop believing because you kept getting disappointed? And God comes along, Jesus comes along and said, it's time to get back up on your feet. It's time for me to put you back up on your feet. Because when I get you back up on your feet, you're not going to stay right here. You're going to move to your destination because I'm going to put the go. I'm going to put the go in. I'm going to put the go back into your future. Some of you got to start walking again. Some of you got to start picking up your foot again. Who am I talking to up in here today? I want you to stay standing right now. Right now. Go ahead, begin to do something because if you don't, I'll keep on preaching. It's time to, He guides our footsteps. He doesn't guide us sitting. Can't guide something that ain't moving. We're going to do two things here. Number one, I want you to understand this is a safe environment. You can be real up in this place. You don't have to front nothing. This is a place where you can come in and you can take the mask off and you can say, I've sat down on this. I've quit believing. I quit dreaming. Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your life. Maybe it's something you're struggling with. Maybe it's an addiction. And you've come to the place of you quit believing that you could be free from it. If that's you, I want you to get out of your seat wherever you are right now, and I want you to come stand around this altar, and I'm going to pray over you. I'm going to pray over you.